Got a scripture for you today, John chapter 15. I want to read 3 or 4 in just verse 22 in John chapter 15 says, "If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not sinned." In other words, they couldn't see their sin until he told them about it. But now they have no cloak for their sins. He that hateth me hates my Father. If I had not done among them the works which no other man did, they had not sinned. But now have they both seen and hated me and my Father. But this cometh to pass, that the word might be fulfilled. It's written in the law. They hated me without a cause. And I want to tie that to what we're dealing with anti-Semitism. They're still at it. I mean, they were going crazy during the Democratic Convention. They're back on the college campuses. But that's not all. They're all around the world. I mean, I think it's 160 nations. But these people, and I look at that and I think they live on a piece of dirt the size of New Jersey. 7 million of them there. And 400 some million surrounding them, Muslims. And many of them are radicals that want them dead. That's what this war is all about. And I'm going to talk on my next one about the impossibility of a two-state solution. It can't happen. And the reason that it can't happen is because God gave them the land. God would have to break his covenant with them to give it away. And every time they've tried to have a two-state solution from the beginning, they can't have it because it falls apart. This thing with Hamas that's been going on since October of last year, October 7th, I believe it was last year, and there have been 40,000 people killed in Gaza, plus the troops that Israel's lost and the IDF, plus all the hostages and the 1,230 people they killed on October 7th. And so now that is spread to the nations. And they believe that they hate the people of Israel, but it's not the people of Israel that they hate. Jesus just said who they hate. And he said again, if they've hated me, they're going to hate you. And so if you love Jesus, you're going to be hated. And the Jews are already in that position because they're hated of all men. And the battle is about how well they've done economically with banks and money. And that's why Hitler killed them, because he felt like they were controlling the money. And all they were doing was receiving the blessing. They didn't make that up. We learned the other day in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, I will bless them that bless you, and I will curse them that curse you, and I'll make a great nation out of you and bless you. That's the intention of God. You can't curse that which God has blessed, and you can't bless that which God has cursed. They will never be destroyed. No, kings and armies have tried since the beginning. And I wish I could just tell you the whole story, but it's one of the most interesting things you've ever seen, how that God brought the Jews forth. And he did that so Jesus could come through that lineage. People that hate Israel hate Jesus, man. People that hate Jesus hate his Father. And we can make it religious overtones about it. We can make economic overtones about it. No, it's just, it's that they can't stand the blessing of God that was put on Israel. The whole thing, it's like what they're going to do with the land. They will never take the land. And here's the reason why. I'll read you through them. In Genesis chapter 12, verse 7, and the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said, unto thy seed will I give this land. And there he buildeth an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. In chapter 15, in the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, unto your seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, Euphrates. You know, their mantra is from the river to the sea. They want everything that's alive that is not a Muslim dead in there. They do not want a two-state solution. They do not want a peace treaty. They do not want a ceasefire. They want death. They want blood. And this is a battle that goes all the way back to Abraham's two sons, Isaac and Ishmael. And so it's just the way it is. In Genesis 17, when he makes the covenant with Abraham, which was circumcision, that every male would be circumcised, he confirms it again. And I will give unto thee, and all thy seed after thee. That's the people over there. See, God's not just protecting them people. There are many of them wicked. I think it's like 2% that are even Orthodox Jews. More Christians over there than there are Christian Jews than there are Orthodox Jews. And so it's not the way they love God. It is the deal that God made with Abraham. And what was that deal? It's found in chapter 22. When God tested Isaac, he said, that son that you didn't get till you were 100 years old now, take him where I tell you and sacrifice him to me. And so Abraham and Isaac lit out with two of his men. You can find this in Genesis chapter 22. And they've got the firewood, they've got the lamp, they've got the knife. They're ready to go. On the way, Isaac says to him, Father, you've got everything to do it, but where's the lamb? And Abraham says to him, God will prepare a sacrifice for himself. And when he gets up on top of Mount Moriah, which is the Temple Mount, which is just yards away from Calvary, and it's where the temple is. It's the land that David bought from the threshing floor, and bought it and paid for it. And it's a part of the heritage of the Davidic covenant. And so in that story, he tells him what to do. He does it. He gets there. And when he gets there, he climbs up the mountain. And they had came 3 days walking. And he gets on the place on the mountain where God tells him. And he builds an altar out of stone. He takes the wood that Isaac had chopped up and carried there. It's like Jesus carrying the cross. That wood represented the altar. The altar is a place to die. That's what the cross is. And so when Isaac got there, Abraham told him what God had called him to do, and that was to bring his only begotten son to that hill. What's that sound like? So Abraham decided to do whatever God asked him. He tied the boy up. He put the wood on the altar. He tied him up. He laid him on the altar. He had the knife. He drew it back. And according to Hebrews chapter 11, go there and read it. He saw in a figure, in a vision, that God could raise him from the dead even if he did stab him. So he believed in the resurrection. He believed in obedience to God. And so God found a man that would do what he knew he was going to do. And that was he was willing to give his only son so men could talk to God. And then years later, there was another seed of Abraham, walked that path, went on top of that hill, and went on that cross and died and confirmed the covenant with God's only begotten Son, that God could now talk to men. So the covenant's not between all Israel, it's only with Israel because of Abraham, their father. He's the father of many nations, the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews. That was all in his bowels. And so in his inward parts. And so because of that, God made a deal. He made a deal with a man that was willing to do what he did. And so there's no point in trying to kill these people because you can't kill Abraham. He's already gone. And you cannot kill the seed of Abraham. They'll kill part of it during the tribulation period. But the fact is, it is the blessing of God that's on these people. 3 times, chapter 12, chapter 15, chapter 17, it says, and I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. How long? Everlasting. It will never go out of their hands again. Think about it. See you next time.